Hey folks, this is Vince with Dad's Gaming Addiction, and today we're going to check out Sub Shop. It's a game for 2 to 6 players for ages 6 and up, with the average playtime being about 30 minutes. Now, the idea behind this game is very simple. All you're really going to be doing is trying to complete customer orders. Basically, these customers will come into the shop and order these subs, and every player in the game is basically like a deli cook or whatever it's called. I don't know what Subway specialists are called nowadays, but anyway, people will come into the shop and it'll be the players' jobs to try and fill their orders. They'll have these ingredient cards in their hand, they'll put the ingredient cards down, trying to complete these subs. And the player that can complete a sub will earn some money. And the player with the most money at the end of the game will win. So without further ado, let's go ahead and take a quick look at the components and see how the game is played. Alright, so here's a quick look at the components. Well, not everything. I couldn't fit everything in the shot. But here's a quick look at the box to give you an idea of what its size is. And this also comes with a box for that bill over there. Alright, now you've got money, $1, $5, $10. You've also got some guides over here. There's a customer guide and a menu guide. There are 6 customer guides, one for each player, and these just basically remind the players as to what each customer wants, in case they can't see the card very well. And the menu also keeps players abreast of what each particular recipe calls for. The hot ham and cheese sub, for example, wants meat and cheese. The cheesesteak wants steak and cheese, and so on and so forth. Speaking of customer cards, that's what these are. You've got like Petey Pig here, Sad Sam, Fast Freddy, and each of these customers are going to want a total of 3 subs. Although they're not going to always order the same sub. Like Fast Freddy here is going to order a hot ham and cheese, a cheesesteak rather, and Porky's Last Stand, whereas Rosie Ruby here will want a veg out hoagie, a BLT, and join the club sub. And as you can see here, they all call for different ingredients. And there's a monetary value next to each sub telling you how much that sub will earn the player whenever that player completes the sub. You've got an order total down here, and you've got a tip down the bottom left-hand corner. Whatever a player completes the order itself, they may not necessarily complete all 3 subs by themselves, but the player that finishes the 3rd and final sub will earn themselves an additional tip in addition to whatever the monetary value is next to the sub in question. As far as the rest of it goes, you've got a board here. Well, actually, it's a tablecloth. There's room for 3 subs. And the ingredient cards will go into these individual slots here. And again, you've got your customer cards over here. There's a slot for that. It even tells you customer cards. And there's also room for a discard pile and this deck over here. The deck itself consists of 2 different card types. Let me see if I can focus in on these. You've got action cards and ingredient cards. The action cards can be taken out of the game if you're just going to play with little kids, or if you just want to play with the basic version. Just take all of the action cards out of the deck and just play with the ingredients if you're going to do that. If you're going to play the advanced game, then keep the action cards in. But like I was saying, you've got different ingredient cards like turkey, you've got lettuce. There's even an any ingredient wild card here. These are the cards that players are going to be putting down onto the table trying to complete these particular hoagies. And then you've got these action cards that allow players to perform special abilities. Like you've got repairs, food fight, big tipper, grab one, that kind of thing. As far as setting up the game, well, you're looking at it. You're going to put the tablecloth down, you're going to shuffle the deck of cards. Again, if you want to play with the basic game, take the action cards out of the deck, separate the money into 3 separate piles, $1, $5, $10. Shuffle your customer cards and put them face down like this, but you're only going to be using 3 customer cards throughout the entire game. Of course, you can tweak the rules a bit and use more if you want a longer game. And of course, you're going to want to pass out these guides to the players depending on where they sit and so on and so forth. And of course the bell would go nearby too. One player will be the manager, sort of like the banker in Monopoly. The manager will handle the money, refresh the cards as needed, clean up the round, and so on and so forth. Okay, now at the very beginning of the game, each player will get a hand of 5 cards from this deck over here. On a player's turn, what they'll do is they'll have the option of playing an action card if they want to. This is completely optional. But if they do play an action card, then they can, if they want to, play an ingredient. However, if they do not play an action card, then they must play an ingredient if one happens to match the customer that was drawn up at the beginning of the round. So in this case, let's just say that this player here does not want to use this action card. So he's going to have to play one of these ingredient cards, assuming that there is an ingredient on here that matches. Join the club sub calls for turkey, and it just so happens that this player has turkey in their hand. That's sub number 3, so he's going to go ahead and put a turkey card here like that. And that'll end the player's turn. Okay, now let's just say, for the sake of argument, that I did not have any ingredient cards that matched what that customer required in order to make these subs. This is just for example purposes. What will happen in that case? The player will go ahead and draw a card from the deck. If it is an action card, he has the option of playing it right there and then if he wants to. Again, this is optional. If it is an ingredient that matches whatever's on the customer card, he or she must play it. In this case, this isn't any ingredient card, so he has to play that. So let's just say he decides to use it under the Philly steak sub and puts the card here like this. It doesn't matter where you put the card, so as long as it fits into one of the 4 available slots. Alright, so what happens when you complete a sub? Well, the person that finished the sub is the one who gets the money. So other players might contribute to it, but the money goes to the person that puts the last ingredient necessary down. So let's just take a quick look at this person's hand here and see what he can do. Just in looking, looks like Porky's last stand calls for bacon and ham, and it just so happens I have a ham card in my hand. So I could put this ingredient down like so, and then I could earn myself $3, which is what is listed on the card. Alternatively, I could put down this steak card under sub number 2. It calls for steak, cheese, and pepper. Now this any ingredient card can be used for anything. The person laying it down doesn't get to choose what it's going to be. It's just going to be a wild, so that as players are putting down ingredients, it'll be the last ingredient that is required to make that sub. So in this case, I could put down this steak, for example, and that would become cheese, and that would complete the sub, and then I would earn $5 for that. Now, it's worth noting real quick that whenever you complete an order, you're supposed to ring the bell, but it's up to you. If you have a headache that night, you may want to skip that part. As far as ending the round itself, that'll happen whenever all 3 subs are completed. The person that completes the 3rd and final sub, in this case it's number 3, and I need bacon to do that. Actually, I do have a bacon card, and I do have this any ingredient card, but I'm going to go ahead and save the any ingredient card for a future round. Just put bacon down, and that completes that order. I'll get $7 for that, but in addition, because I completed the 3rd and final sub, I'll get the tip on top of that, which is $2. And of course, I would earn that money appropriately. So at the end of the round, the manager will go ahead and clean up all the cards, and players will draw back up to 5 cards. A new customer will be drawn from the deck. But if it's the 3rd and final round, you will not want to draw back up to 5 cards because your cards at that point will become spoiled. You actually earn negative money or negative points for having cards left over in your hand after the 3rd and final round. Action cards are -2, whereas any of these ingredient cards are -1. So you're trying to get rid of your cards in your hand during the 3rd and final round if you can. The player with the most money, after adding up all of the money that they've earned throughout the game, will win. Alright, and there you have it, a very brief look at Sub Shop. It's important to stress that I did not cover all of the rules found in the manual. This was just to give you a general overview so that you know what you're getting into should you decide to pick up this game. As far as what I thought, this is definitely geared toward younger children, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. I know some of you, gamers out there are like, well, this is too kiddie for me. Why would I want to pick this up? Believe it or not, there are families out there with younger kids. If you're a parent, you know what I mean. So, a lot of younger kids can't play complex games like Power Grid or Stone Age, and they're left out of family game night because of it. Well, with games like this, they won't have to be left out, and that's the great thing about games like this. Grandparents that are watching these younger kids for the parents could play this game. There's no little pieces that they can eat or get into. I think the smallest component in this game is the bell. maybe the money here. But there's like no little cubes and meeples that, little kids would put in their mouth and eat and so on and so forth, or throw at the cat, whatever. So yeah, Sub Shop, definitely geared more toward kids. So I would recommend this game to families with younger children. I don't know if I would recommend it as a filler in between longer play sessions for adult settings, but definitely in a family setting, Sub Shop isn't a bad game at all. So if you haven't done so already, check out my written review, www.dadsgamingaddiction.com. Also, subscribe to my YouTube channel. That way you can keep up to date with any new content I happen to publish. This is Vince. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.